This is Hemant.
And Jessica.
And we're here for the Friendly Atheist podcast. If you like what you're listening to, please consider making a contribution at patreon.com/friendlyatheistpodcast.
Y'all, we're so close to getting Hemant to watch Star Wars.
We got a while.
It's going to be great. And we're going to make my husband watch with us because he actually likes the movie.
And we'll have someone to narrate it while we do it.
He knows what's going on.
I should mention, this is Wednesday, May 17th, as we're recording this. This weekend, we're going to post an interview that I think you're really going to like. It's with an author who basically escaped evangelical. She grew up an evangelical Christian and actually went to a psychiatric facility of her own want.
Wow.
And the reason she was there is because she was so fearful of hell growing up that she took it seriously. Like, she thought if she did something wrong, she was literally going to burn in hell for eternity.
Sweetie. And
it traumatized her. And she had to check herself into a facility. But she made it out, and her story is just unbelievable.
That's awesome.
We're going to post that, I believe, this weekend. So stay tuned.
So
for
on
that.
our usual days, this is just a
on our usual day. This one bonus because
we just love spending time together and yelling.
we do. And I'm going to be out of town. Whatever.
And he's got a life. It's bullshit. We're at my house. You know what that means. We're drinking good wine. We got a Stanzia
really? This is
Zinfandel
good
tonight.
wine?
Yeah, it's a Stanzia. It's actually a pretty decent wine. It's a Zinfandel. I'm enjoying it. I usually like their Cabernet. But anyway,
Excellent.
On.
It is good.
It's no Mike's Hard Lemonade. I'll tell you that right. Goddamn now.
Don't knock it. They're our only sponsors. I'm going to start off with a story we actually did a while ago. Remember Robert Fisher? He was the Republican atheist from New Hampshire.
Okay.
He was the guy who apparently started the Red Pill subreddit.
Oh, that's not. I thought we were throwing back. Oh yeah. We got a lot of shit from Red Pill guys, huh?
We did. So forget the Red Pill guys.
Guys, we don't care.
This guy from New Hampshire, he apparently started the Red Pill.
Yeah.
He said some nasty, horrible things behind the veil of anonymity
About women.
And when the Daily Beast basically said, "Hey, we know this is you," he kind of admitted it, but still said that was in my past life in a sense.
That's right.
I don't do that anymore.
Because he and I are the exact same age, and he started the Red Pill when I started writing at Friendly Atheist, which, by the way, is, I think, 5 years next week.
Is it really?
5 years that I've been on the Friendly Atheist
That's
network.
awesome.
But anyway, to say, I was so young and naive, dude, you're 26.
Yeah, you weren't a kid when you were doing this. There is an update that I actually got just before I came over here. And here's the update. So they were trying to figure out in the New Hampshire legislature, what should we do with this guy? And they had a committee trying to decide, should we take some sort of action? Should we do something about this? And you should know, Democrats in the New Hampshire House were basically saying the attorney general should investigate this guy for lying under oath. That's what they wanted.
Really? Wait, sorry, just backtracking.
Yeah.
What did he lie about having contributed to the Red Pill?
I think that was the issue.
Okay.
God, I hope I'm right about that's what the issue was.
Red Pill guys will get at us.
Yeah, but basically this legislative committee, they wanted to know, should we take action of some sort?
Okay.
And the Republicans are in the majority there. I should double check that. But the New Hampshire Republicans are in the majority there. They have an 8-6 advantage on this committee. Do they have an advantage? They do. 223 to 170.
Okay.
So, okay. Even though it's New Hampshire, a lot of them are libertarian, but whatever. So there's 14 people. Republicans have an advantage. Guess what the votes came down to? Should we take action on this guy?
Oh, I couldn't even fathom a guess, Hemant.
Take a guess.
Democrats?
Democrats said, let's take action.
Is it those 14 guys?
The six Democrats said, let's take action on this guy. I don't know what that means, but let's do something about this, whether it's censure him or punish him.
And it was the Republicans who were like, nah.
And the 8 Republicans all said no. So the answer was no action would be taken against this guy. After that vote was taken, there's video, which we'll post later, we'll link to it or something. There was a group of women in the audience when they took this vote saying shame, shame, the sort of thing you see at the AHCA town hall meetings lately.
Those things have been bananas.
But here's the update to the story that you really want.
Okay.
They said we're not going to take any action on this guy. Democrats are like, we want the attorney general looking into this guy. After all that, this afternoon, Robert Fisher said, I'm just resigning. I'm done with this.
Later.
He is gone. And I don't know too much more than that right now. But basically, he's not responding to any requests for comment.
No mean tweets from Jessica.
No one's saying anything. I mean, even Republicans in the House were like, this guy, who I don't think are on that committee, were like, this was reprehensible. This guy was bad.
I mean,
So anyway.
all things considered, good for him, question mark?
I mean,
like, I feel like credit where credit's due. Like, I'll bash that guy all day, but at least he stepped down and saved the state of New Hampshire a bunch of shit.
Embarrassment
And just
shame.
like time and the expense of, hi, Daddy.
There's a dog.
My dog is here. She has jangly chains, so that's her.
So yeah, he resigned. So I mean, it worked, I guess. Like all he had to do. I mean, I think there was a way to just say, "Look, I did create it. I did say those things. I'm sorry. I've learned so much since then." There was a way to get around it, and but by denying it, and I don't know.
I don't know. Like, I don't. Think
I feel like that could work in today's.
forgivable.
It shouldn't be. And yet, in this political climate, I feel like you could just be like, "Yeah, I did that, and I was
the
wrong."
bar is
The bar is
so
very low.
low to be a semi decent person.
Yeah.
By the time this gets up, do you think impeachment shit will start? What do you think's going to happen with that?
With Trump,
Yeah,
I don't know. They finally have someone looking at it,
Right.
So
yeah, that happened
nothing's
today.
gonna happen.
That happened a couple hours ago.
yeah, nothing's gonna happen.
I kind of don't think either. And I think, I don't know. I just, like, a President Pence is not something I'm looking for in my life.
Yeah, even if like the impeachment did happen, what's the alternative?
Yeah.
It's not better until.
But I don't know, because part of me is like, it's not better because Pence is like a nightmare human, but like, at least he's not leaking classified, like, at least he's a competent politician.
Yeah.
You know?
Then we would actually have to worry about policies, which is what we've been used to doing for
But
many
now we're,
years.
like, worried about like espionage and getting getting bombed by like North Korea or whatever.
This is why I get very. I don't know if offended is the right word. I don't get offended by anything. But like when people are like, oh, you must love it that Trump is president because it gives you so much more to blog about. It's
No.
I had plenty to blog about when Barack Obama was in power. It was just a different set of issues.
Yep.
And if Pence were to somehow take over, again, it would be a different set of things to worry about.
Yeah, he calls his wife mother. That that creeps me out.
Oh, man. First mother.
Sorry, I snorted right into the microphone.
All right. So that was your update on Robert Fisher. Here's a story for you that
Hater dog.
there's this guy driving around in Virginia. Sure. He has a truck
in Virginia. You don't say.
I know. And on the back of his truck is our Bible verses. Surprise, surprise. Also, his verse on the back. This one. 1 Corinthians 14, chapter 14, verse 34. Women shall be silent and submissive. All right, so you're like, I've heard of these types of people forever.
Yeah.
Here's the twist. This guy's an atheist.
This guy is a fucking hero, is what he is.
He's like, I just want people to know what's in their Bible.
Good for him.
Tom Hicks is his name.
His name is Tom Hicks?
It is as stereotypical as you
I was about to say,
could
that
get.
is a name I would make up for, like,
For a
Joe Q
Virginian with a
Republican.
truck. Yeah.
Oh, good for you, Tom Hicks.
Yeah, he said he may change up the Bible verse at some point,
Yeah.
but he wants to just show people. And he says, like, yeah, a lot of time I'm driving and a lot of people are giving me the middle finger, more or less. And he's like, I'll take it. It's worth it.
Do you think he gets that from, like, Republican or not Republicans,
I don't know.
But,
like,
religious people or none?
I don't know. And I'm trying to figure out,
who's
are
mad about
religious
that?
people mad that he's highlighting a verse they don't like?
Yeah.
Or is it people who think he's seriously saying the things he's saying or believes the things he's saying?
I mean, I could see myself giving him an old middle finger. That's not true. I'm not very aggressive when I drive because I'm
But you would
afraid
think it.
Murder. Oh, I think it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I hate most people around me when I drive. Do you do the thing when somebody drives like an asshole and you pull up next to them, you just want to see what their asshole face looks like?
Yeah.
What is that? What is that craving of like, I just need to see how stupid you are?
I want to know if I could take them in my mind. I'll never get out of my car.
In a battle of wits.
I just need to know if I can outrun them, if I can outdrive them.
Oh, sweetie, who can you outrun?
No one.
I'm running a 5K next week.
That's 5K more than I will be running.
Run is a generous word for what I'm going to do. Okay. All right. So that guy's a hero.
So that guy's
Tom Hicks.
a hero. He also
Atheist of the week. Oh, we should have a segment. Atheist of the week. Tom Hicks.
There you go. He wins this round. My favorite part of this,
You win. That sounded threatening. You win this round.
My favorite part of the whole story is that a news channel was like, this is a human interest story. So they did a feature on this guy. And they basically went to a Baptist preacher and said, this verse is there. How do you defend it? Which is kind of the whole point of this guy putting it on.
What did he say?
So the Baptist preacher, I'm going to quote him directly. He did a good job for what it's worth, but he's like, the very person who wrote that passage of scripture in Corinthians also wrote in Ephesians that husbands are to love their wives, just as Christ loved the church, blah, 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 blah. But that doesn't take, I mean, there are the complementarian type of men who are like, well, my wife must stay in the home and raise the children.
But I'm going to love her.
But I love her. Right. It's like, you didn't deny it.
No, yeah. I mean, it's garbage.
It.
It's definitely tap dancing around the idea of like, and it's the same thing that people talk about, like, oh, women need to stay in the home because like they can already make babies. So if they also run the household, it'd be too, like, it's just garbage. It's just apologetic garbage.
Yeah.
And it's not,
But this is something I love to see people do, which is pin them down on something that is tough to explain because you can't say it's not in the Bible. Well, it totally is.
Yes.
So how do you rationalize this horrible thing? And it's not that they can't. Believe me, they take classes on this shit in like seminary sometimes. But it's like they have to try to find a way to make this not sound as horrible as it really is. And it never works.
Well, and I think one could say to the pastor, like, oh, okay, so what I'm hearing from this guy who's saying, okay, yes, women should be silent, which he glazed over pretty readily.
Yes.
But men are to love women. So what I hear when I hear that is a woman's greatest accomplishment is to be loved by a man, and we're possessions of a man who to be loved. And it is okay that I don't have a voice because I have love. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's kind of like an extension of those people who, like, they're really successful in their careers and their moms are always like, how come you're not married and settled down? Like, to me, it's the same thing as that of like, we measure success, or this sort of thought process is measuring success of women by one metric. And that is, does a dude love you? And that's
and were you a virgin until you were married? Because man,
but
if you
just the
that
one
shit
guy
up,
loved you.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. It's messed up. So while we're on the subject of things, this particular topic of just the worst aspects of religion. So I read this post written by this woman who is a Christian and writes about that all the time. And she was writing about her son, and she was saying some pretty sad things. I'm going to quote some of the stuff. Sometimes the hardest things are the memories. Remembering the joy I felt in that plump baby who looked at me so adoringly. These memories are all I have left now. There are no more to make. He was such a handsome boy, an excellent student, a talented musician, so kind and thoughtful of others. He never gave us trouble while at home. He loved his siblings. I remember his infectious laugh.
Is he dead?
What happened to her son?
Is he dead?
No.
Don't tell me he's an atheist.
He's not an atheist. He's
Gay?
still a Christian. Ding.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Seriously? Can you read that again so I can like picture it in the right context?
Sometimes the hardest thing are the memories. The memories are all I have left now. There are no more to make.
Jesus Christ.
He was, past tense, he was so handsome and an excellent and musician and thoughtful. All he did was be gay. And then she decided,
it
well,
is 2017.
I have nothing to do with you. By the way, she wrote this from what I've figured out on his wedding day.
No, heavens.
Yes.
Oh my God, fuck this woman.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Like, oh my, see that, I think the thing about religion that really fucking breaks my heart is shit like this. That it separate, like, yes, there are aspects of it that bring community together, and all of those arguments are to be made, and they're worth listening to. But to me, anything that can tear a family apart for such a nothing reason.
Yeah.
You know? It's not, and I'm sure you can find a dozen, and I'm sure you can find examples of people who don't act like this horrible woman, but like, whose kids are murderers, and they're like, well, he found Jesus, so like
Right.
he's still my son. How can I like do Jeffrey Dahmer's dad like stood by until that's
but
I'm just
exactly.
reading a book
There are
about him.
people who will do horrible things, and their
Right.
parents stand by them no matter what.
Right.
And this kid didn't do anything wrong. And yeah, I mean, if we're
sometimes, being honest, he's probably better off without this nightmare woman in his life.
That's very true. I did hear from some Christians who tried to comment on her website that basically their comments were all held in moderation. She was not approving them because what was disturbing to me, and I pointed this out, was that so many of the comments on her article were like, I'm so sorry for your loss, knowing full well that he's not dead. I'm sorry for your loss. You were such a great mother. Like things like that.
Like
and I'm like, oh my God, she's getting, what's the word I'm looking for?
Sympathy?
Yeah.
Empathy?
Like people feel bad for her. Like, no, she's the bad one in this situation.
She's the villain of this particular story.
She went on to say
What's
things.
this woman's name? Let's call her out by name.
Kim Higginbotham.
Of fucking course her name is Kim Higginbotham.
I don't even know
I'm
what
sorry,
that
I
means,
shouldn't
but
dog on her name. It's a fine name, but she's a nightmare human.
She went on to say things like, I feel embarrassed by what my son has done. What?
Fuck
This is the one that I hated.
What's her name? Karen?
Kim. Was the love our son expressed to us all a lie?
Fuck me.
And then, I try to picture where my son is now and what he may be doing. I hurt. Sin is ugly. It is disgusting. It perverts. While I don't want to know, I find myself drawn to his social media like watching two cars collide. I want to look away, but I can't. I care too much.
No, you don't. That's not what caring is.
Mm-hmm.
That's what sociopathy is.
We've talked to people who are like Jehovah's Witnesses and even Scientologists. And when you leave the Jehovah's Witnesses, for example, they have very strict rules about your family cannot associate with you. You are shunned for life. It's one of the reasons so many people don't want to leave.
Right.
And when they do, they're making a really big step here. Christianity and evangelical Christianity is not like that. Overall.
There's obviously examples of it.
And so this is that level type of, I want nothing to do with you.
What flavor
You're
of
dead
Christianity
to me.
is she?
Just evangelical, as far as I know. She's
Really?
not like some weird cult type.
Yeah.
But this is what her faith led her to do. She's
her
like, you're
poor
gay.
son.
You did something. You chose this or something.
Hey, Kim's son, if you live in the greater Chicagoland area, like, come over, have a glass of wine. Sounds like you kind of sidestepped a landmine with that one.
Yeah.
Ugh, what a night. You have a human child.
Yes.
I have a dog.
Yes.
I love her very much. I've known her for 2.5 weeks.
I've had my moments.
I mean, we did have a diarrhea situation happen in our house today.
I can
so
beat that.
No, I know. I need to make it clear that I'm not saying that my love for my dog or the work that goes into having a puppy is equal to having a human child. But I am saying, like, we both have a thing that we take care of that we love.
Yeah, can you imagine just saying, nope, done with this thing now? No.
And now, like, you know, she's still, like, a kiddo. Imagine when she's, like, talks to you and you have, like, a relationship that is... Not that you don't have a meaningful relationship.
No, exactly. What happens when I, like, actually like her for reasons other than
like, you
spawned.
have to and chemistry, I guess.
I mean, you're right. I can't imagine doing this. And one of the... another writer... a Christian blogged about this and called her out on this. Good for this Christian. But she even said, like, this lady, Kim, has 4 kids. She's talking about one of them. She has 4 kids. This other Christian woman was like, well, what happens if the other ones, like you said, what if they, like, embezzled money? What if they broke the law by speeding? You know, or they were preggers, quote, preggers sans marriage is literally what her phrase. Like, I'm sure her other kids have done things that are quote unquote bad.
Right.
I don't think she's about to abandon them. But this is the thing about, love the sin or hate the sin. Some evangelicals treat being gay as a sin above anything else.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about that before, and it's a thing that I find really baffling because it's not very, comparatively speaking, it's not very explicit in the Bible, right? Like, it's not... It's sort of amalgamated from a few pulled... like, there's obviously the man should not lie with him. That went and, like...
There's a handful of those clobber verses that you could twist to make...
call them?
Clobber verses. They beat you over the head with them.
Oh, yeah. I've never heard that expression before.
Yeah,
did you make that up?
No.
Oh.
But there's a handful
Take
of
credit
them.
For it. It's our podcast.
Done. Trademark.
TM.
There's a handful of them. And you could twist them both ways because Christians who think homosexuality is not a big deal could easily reinterpret them a different way.
Right.
But you're right. Some people take them and...
Right. And that's the thing that I find really baffling. And it's not just, oh, this is a stand I'm taking. This is like ruining people's lives. This young man's family abandoned him. And granted, he's an adult, but like... That shit is fucked up based off of what, like, because at some point in the last 50 years, somebody decided, like, homosexuality was a thing we needed to, like, take care of. So they plucked their verses that they needed. And, like, this is their issue. This is the hill they're going to die on. And I do think it's going to kill them. But I just don't get, like, nobody would cut out, like, nobody would cut off contact with their kid because they, like, didn't feed the needy, even though Jesus was pretty fucking specific about that. Mm-hmm. It's just...
What is it about your faith that makes you say, I'm going to cut off my child,
and it's
treat him as if he's dead?
Yeah, I mean, and it's a thing I can never relate to because I never had religion. And I've heard, you know, it's fucked up, but like I've been at a few funerals of like Baptists and things like that. And very, very frequently, sort of you know, when people are speaking, the thoughts of the deceased are sort of secondary to their thoughts on Jesus. You know, like I remember very specifically being at my friend's funeral. He's from North Carolina, and his sister was speaking, and she was like, you know, the only thing I loved more than my brother was Jesus. And I was like, it just felt icky. Mm-hmm. You know, like it makes me feel icky. It's not a good term, but it just like, oh.
Yeah.
Was I going anywhere with that, you think?
No, it's... Yeah, when you're putting your faith above common sense and your family and like...
And family, like...
What are you doing?
This kid did nothing wrong.
Yeah. And by the way, I tried...
And he's still fucking Christian, you said.
Yes, as far as I know, this kid is still Christian.
Poor kid.
His sibling... I did try to figure this... I was trying to search for this kid on social media. Couldn't find him in at least a brief search. And his siblings didn't have anything about him on their Facebook public walls or anything, so I don't know. I'm curious.
From?
I don't remember. I don't know what his reaction is, the kid's reaction. I don't know what the other siblings think about him.
Yeah.
In case you're curious, when you search their friend list on Facebook, they didn't include him. But I don't know if that's just because they didn't have a publicly searchable thing or what.
I mean, yeah. Oh my God, that
sad.
Sucks. That's really sad.
So we mentioned kids. I'm good at the segues. I can do segues.
Nailing them.
There was this video that went viral this week that was a 2-year-old girl. Her name is Ella Grace.
Oh, that's cute.
And the reason it went viral is because so many people were like, "This is adorable." Oh. It's a baby crying, which is not adorable. Is it going to
be not adorable by the end of this?
I'm going to play some of it. I don't know if you could hear this.
Uh-huh.
Because Jesus loves me.
Oh, no.
I want Jesus to come.
Oh, no.
That's the whole video. So this 2-year-old baby, she's crying. Why? Because Jesus loves me. I want Jesus to come.
Did I'll have to listen back to it. It sounded like somebody in the background was saying, say it.
Oh, I didn't pick up on that. But
I could be hallucinating.
But the mother's clearly, I mean, like any parent would.
Encouraging
it. It's fine. Like babies regurgitate. Right. What's amazing to me, the kid's fine. The mother, I don't care. The mother's fine too. I'm not like blaming the mother or anything.
Yeah.
The commenters on YouTube and the commenters on various websites that were writing about how adorable this kid is.
You always tell me you don't read the comments.
This one, I specifically sought them out.
Oh, God.
They said things like, "I wish I had her faith. This video brought me to tears. Shame on me for not giving my best at all times to my master." This kid doesn't have faith. This kid is regurgitating things she has heard.
We all have a faith of an 18-month-old baby who, like, believes that her dad is magic. Like, Yeah, that would be super great, but that's sort of not how life works.
Do you know the things I can get my kid to say?
Tell me them.
No, because I'll get in trouble, but it's hilarious.
Do you make her swear? Because that's something I would do.
I can do many things.
Did you ever find the pacifiers that she hid all over your house?
Yes.
Where were they?
Laundry. She threw them in the laundry.
She's very responsible. You're already domesticating your young daughter.
It was a traumatic few hours when we could not find the Wubba Nubs in the house. with the pacifier, with the stuffed animal attached. Though a lot of baby shower gifts, none of them she uses. But those things, holy crap, she loves them. But anyway, it's 2-year-old, under 2 years old. Like, you can get them to say whatever you're saying.
Yeah, no offense, kids are dumb.
Yeah, and if this parent
Their brains are mush.
Parent's religious, whatever, and if they pray while they're around her, whatever, she's regurgitating what the parents are saying. That's not impressive.
Yeah.
You can say that's adorable, like anything a kid does is adorable.
Yeah.
But this kid does not have great faith.
Right.
She's just saying things.
Like, when I was 6, I had to be carried crying out of a movie theater after seeing Home Alone because I was afraid the family wouldn't come home. Like, gauging a kid's faith on what they will or will not cry at doesn't feel like a super good measurement. Like, what will your kid cry at? Like, oh, Ella? Nope.
Ella Grace.
No. I'm thinking, what's the Frozen? Fuck.
I assume it's Ella. That sounds like
Anna
a Disney.
And the blonde one. But like, I'm sure you could get any 18-month-old to cry because like Olaf the snowman isn't going to come rescue her.
Elsa.
See, you said Ella before and it threw
Close
me
enough.
off.
One letter off.
Yeah. Anyway, but like kids will cry about all of that dumb shit. No, I don't feel like hating on her because like whatever.
Not hating on the
It's just
family.
the comments.
And not even hating on the mother.
No.
Mother didn't do anything wrong here.
The comments are just dumb.
It's just the commenters. What the hell? She doesn't have faith. Why are you trying to emulate a kid who's... What does that say about your faith if you're so inspired by regurgitation?
Yeah.
And what if this baby was saying like, Allahu Akbar, or God isn't real?
Like, no, that would be fucking
What would happen to
adorable.
that video? What would the comments be like there? They would call it indoctrination.
Mm-hmm.
They would say, what the hell's wrong with this parent for teaching this kid these things or saying it around him? But when she says Jesus loves me, or maybe she's crying because she thinks she's going to go to hell, all of a sudden that's adorable. Because every article I saw about this literally had the word adorable somewhere in the piece.
Of course. That actually reminds me of a documentary I saw 6 or 7 years ago, and I can't remember the name, but it's about this I don't want to say cult, but probably this sect, I guess, who very firmly believe that Jesus is coming back within their lifetime. Like, that's a very like matter of fact. This is absolutely happening. They live their life as if he is. And I know there are many people who believe that, but this particular documentary, they interviewed this girl who was maybe 14 or 15, and she talked about how, you know, the interview asked her like, "Oh, what are you looking forward to? You looking excited about high school?" And she was like, "Yeah, I'm really excited to get my driver's license, but Jesus will probably come back before that, so that probably won't happen." And she just said it in this really sad, resigned way of like, I'm not going to get to do the things I want. It wasn't like an excited, like, doesn't
Shouldn't
matter.
That be the happiest day of your life?
It was, I saw it, God, I was still living in Lincoln Park at the time. So this is 7 years ago. And it's something that just stuck with me because just the sad resignation and this like, you know, it was sad.
It's almost like I wonder if she would be afraid to take certain risks or do certain things because she worries, why get my college degree? Because Jesus is going to come back before it matters.
Well, I mean, in a larger scale, that's why like having young earth creationists or people who believe that Jesus is coming back and like making laws is sort of fucked up because
why bother with climate change?
Exactly.
Jesus is coming back.
And snowballs are a thing.
They are.
So
that disproves all of climate
check and
change.
mate climate change science guys and ladies.
Big quote fingers around science. Here's a weird story. Have you done jury duty?
I did. I didn't get pulled up on the jury, but I did read all of Hunger Games that day.
That works. The closest
a good anecdote.
I like it. The closest I got is I was questioned. I would have been a jury person, but I think there was some some technicality prevented me from doing it.
Is it your brown skin?
I don't think it was. They were actually really good about it.
Okay.
It was like the county that I was listed under.
That's a good joke, though, right?
I laughed. There is some former Democrat representative, a U.S. House representative from Florida, Corinne Brown. She's no longer in the House. She's on trial right now for wire fraud, mail fraud, filing false tax returns, a whole bunch of shit. Allegedly, she did all these things. She's on trial for it.
Allegedly, Corinne.
Yes.
Don't sue us.
So there's a jury. They're done with the trial. Both sides have presented their cases. The jury is now deliberating as we speak. But the other day, I guess one of the jurors sent a letter to not the judge, but the contact they have with the judge, because they all have a contact. Hey, if something happens during deliberations, you have a question, concern, you should tell this person, who's not the judge, but someone who has access to him.
Right.
So she sends an email or a letter to that person saying, we have a concern. No one else is saying this, but I'm going to say it to you. I have a concern. And I'm going to quote for the letter.
I'm so nervous.
This person basically said, I want to make sure I get this right.
Don't blow the cement.
I'm sorry. One of the jurors she was quoting, one of the other jurors told us in the deliberation room, a higher being told me Corinne Brown was not guilty on all charges, ... blah, blah. I trust the Holy Ghost.
That is the opposite thing I thought was going to happen.
What did you think was going to happen?
I thought it was going to be like somebody here doesn't believe in God, so I don't believe in their morals or something like that.
I could see that happening.
Like that, I thought I saw that come from my. Holy cannoli.
So this person's like, she's not guilty because God told me she's not guilty. Now.
That is, wow.
Weird.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Well, I'll get to it. But this juror sends this letter that the contact tells the judge. The judge oh, shit. So the next day.
Was it a mistrial?
Well,
or they have.
The judge is like, all right, hey, two lawyers on both sides. Let's chat about this. And they have a transcript. And I would urge you, we'll have a link in the show notes. You got to read the transcript.
Is it bonkers?
No.
Oh.
This is what's amazing to me. You have three people. Yes, the two lawyers have their respective sides and they want to defend their sides. Mm-hmm. But I'm reading through it. It's a long transcript. Mm-hmm. But I'm just oh, wow. These people all seem to have the law's best interest at heart.
Holy shit.
The judge is clearly trying really hard to make sure everyone's happy with whatever decision. The judge is look, I'm not really sure what to do here, but let me talk through all of this. Here's what the issue is, the judge is saying. It's not weird for someone to say, God led me to think a certain way about a juror. Uh-huh. And the Corinne Brown's representative...
God led you to think a certain way about a defendant?
Well, Corinne Brown's lawyer was saying, this is not weird, what this juror said. Obviously, the juror's decision helped his client.
Right.
She's not guilty. But what he was saying is, look, a lot of people might weigh the evidence and they're well, here's the arguments why she's guilty. Here's why she may not be guilty. Mm-hmm. And they think about it and they might say, well, yeah, I think she's not guilty. Mm-hmm. And they'll say they're inspired by God. Look, we all know Christians who might say...
That's cold thinking.
Yeah, we all know Christians who might say well, I was weighing, should I leave my job and take another job? And here's the pros and the cons. You know what? I think I'm going to take that other job. But if you ask them, so what led you to make that decision? I just feel God was leading me in that direction. We can debate.
Fine.
We can debate.
Fine.
But that's the reaction, right?
That's not hurting no one.
No, you really thought this through, but
right.
you're just attributing it to God.
Right.
That was Corinne Brown's lawyer's argument, that this is all that was going on. Uh-huh. So this is not weird. Stop acting like this is weird. Uh-huh. And obviously the state's lawyer was she already decided the case before she heard any of the stuff.
Yeah.
There's nothing my side could do to convince her she's wrong at this point.
Good point.
Which I thought too. I'm yeah, that kind of makes sense. So the judge is well, when in your deliberations did she say this? Is this after you guys had figured stuff out? Uh-huh. And the judge is very much let's talk to the juror who sent the letter. Let's talk to the juror who allegedly said this.
Right.
The person who allegedly said this basically said, yeah, I said this. And all of them, the two that they talked to, were like, this was very early on when we were in the room deliberating. So it's not like they had decided one way or the other. They were still weighing things. But
she said it after the trial was concluded.
Oh, yeah, after the trial and the jury was back in the room.
So it's not like she said it on the first day of the trial.
And in fact, before they even selected, the trial started, then they're selecting the jury, they said, do any of your religious beliefs or personal beliefs, forbid you from being an impartial juror who will weigh the evidence equally? They would ask anybody. And this juror said, no, I'm cool. Like, it's all fine.
Did you get that from the transcript too?
Totally, I'm quoting. Yes. So they talked to everyone. This happened early in deliberation. So ultimately, the judge basically says, we need to get rid of this juror because I don't think it's fair that this person has made up his mind before really weighing the evidence because they didn't have time as a jury to listen to both sides and argue about the two sides. This person made up their mind and seems like they would never change it.
I guess.
So the judge said, I'm choosing to dismiss this juror.
Okay. But I guess I mean, obviously a lot of this is problematic, but I feel like if I sat through a trial, by the time I get to like the deliberation room, I probably
have your decision made up.
Or like at least have a sort of place that I'm going mentally. I feel like it would be impossible to sit through an entire trial and
you're going to have an opinion for sure.
So, I mean, the fact that but okay, so what I'm saying is if I was a juror and on the first day of deliberations, I said, like, she is not guilty and there's nothing that's going to change my mind. Would I be dismissed under that?
I guess this is the big question because the judge was very clear. I don't want to not follow the rules here. Right. I don't want to break the law by saying, well, you had religious reasons for not changing your mind. Therefore, whatever. Clearly, if you walk in saying, I made my mind, this person's innocent, there's nothing you could do to change me. I guess the question is, that's really up to the jury in some sense. Like, it's their argument. They get to decide. And if this goes back to like the 12 Angry Men sort of thing. Like,
I was in that play in high school.
Look at that.
Juror number 7, I think.
If one person says they're totally convinced one way, I feel like a jury should be able to say, okay, fine. Let me argue with you because this is something I have a concern about. Right. Can you at least respond to me and tell me why I should ignore that?
Yeah.
And this juror, the one who ratted on the other one, was saying, I don't think there's anything anyone could say that is going to change this person's mind because it's already made up. And if that's the case, we can't deliberate as a jury. It defeats the whole purpose of having a jury.
That's just asking for a hung jury, right? Yeah. Like, that's just how...
Yeah, so that's where they were at. The lawyer for Corinne Brown, because this juror who was on their side already was dismissed, he says he's going to seek a new trial. They wanted to avoid him. I don't know what's going to happen at this point, but it was just a fascinating thing because, you got to weigh, like you said, people are going to have opinions going into the jury room.
Yeah.
But isn't the whole point of a jury that you can weigh evidence? You could argue about it and debate the things you've heard and try to convince people of your side. Right. You can't say like, hey, God told me she's not guilty.
Later.
Boom, to
Bye.
You. Yeah. How do you convince people of that? You can't. There's no evidence being weighed.
Yeah,
in fact,
you're right.
The judge even said that was a disqualifying statement because you're saying there's no reason or evidence involved in this.
Yeah, you're right. There is a difference between... I'm just like, no, fuck you. This is what I think versus, because I feel like it's a little more not reaching, but if I'm just saying like, there's nothing you can say to change it. It's an exaggeration. That's just me taking a stance. But if somebody's like, God told me, that's a little more of a firm position. Okay, you've convinced me.
The judge actually also said, I think that's just an expression that's a bridge too far, consistent with jury service as we know it.
I mean, that That makes sense.
It makes sense. Yeah, I
not
couldn't.
crazy about the whole situation. It sounds like everybody handled it as well as they could.
Yeah, and keep in mind, the other jury members didn't say anything.
Yeah.
This juror number 8 who ratted out the other person said, like, look, I'm concerned about this. And by the way, she added, no one else knows I'm writing you about this, but I think a lot of us are concerned about this person.
Yeah.
But she's the only one who did anything about it.
For her.
Most people said we were going to let it go, I assume. You know what I mean? Like, they weren't going to say anything. They were just going to continue deliberating.
Yeah.
Who knows? Interesting situation. I don't know what I would do in that jury room.
I don't know if I would either.
That's a weird situation to be in. You would think the whole point is, well, let's argue this out. And I might think I'm totally right about what I think is going to happen here, or who's guilty or not guilty. But isn't the whole point of a jury? I need to be able to convince all of you to side with me. Mm-hmm. And if someone, for whatever reason, says, can't reach me, there's nothing you could do, what's the point of having a jury?
Like, is it kind of the equivalent of just, like, leaving the room and not participating in it anymore?
Yeah.
That's a tricky situation.
Yep.
And I wonder how many times it's happened in a jury room and it's never brought up.
I'm sure there are some. I would love to know from listeners, like, for those of you who have done it, because I haven't been on a jury then. I would love to know what sort of, besides just arguing about cases, I'm sure there are stubborn people in jury rooms. That's obvious.
Sure.
I'm sure there are people who are just, you would never want to talk to in real life, but you got to talk to them.
That's most people for me.
Yeah. But has something like this ever happened where you're just like, this person is unreachable? There's nothing I could say.
Interesting.
Yeah. Let's go to a different type of article. This is sad too. Look, car accident happened a few weeks ago.
Oh.
Lady died, young lady, younger than us. She died. Her baby daughter also died. And this woman's best friend, also, I think in her 20s, also died. Sad situation. This happened in Georgia. Random other woman was driving in the area, sees there's a crime or accident scene, and the traffic was bad. But so she took a picture of the accident scene, partly to just show her boss, like, this is why I was late. Like, this was the scene. And when I think her aunt, this random stranger's aunt, saw the picture, it looked like there was a light shining down from above right onto the accident scene. And the aunt's like, that's like God reaching down from heaven to pull them up. In fact, if you look at this picture, there were 2 tiny, brighter orbs in that ray of light. And the aunt's like, look, God is taking them up to heaven or something.
What about the baby's soul?
That's a good question that I also had. There were 3 people in that accident. Why are there only 2 orbs? What message is God sending? No article I found addressed that issue. One of them isn't going to heaven. Okay.
I know.
I'm not making fun of them, but it's like,
I know I'm focusing on the wrong thing, but why did she posted that picture to Facebook?
Well, she wasn't going to. She took it for her boss. But when her aunt pointed that out, she's like, I think this might actually.
Okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
Yeah, she showed her aunt.
It was the woman who took the picture, her aunt.
Her aunt.
I had in my head it was one of the women who died.
And when the aunt was like, "Oh, that's a beautiful thing," they tried to find the family of the victims because their names were public.
Oh,
they're like, you may want to see
that
this
garbage.
And the family.
Oh my God, I would lose my goddamn mind.
The family was like, "This is beautiful. We have a keepsake of our daughter."
What?
Yeah. No, they loved it. The family loved it. It gives them comfort in a time of grief.
Oh God.
And so whatever. I'm not gonna make fun of that.
No. Like if that's what they need, that's
what gets
fine.
them through whatever.
Oh.
Here's my concern.
But for that to be the keepsake.
I'm not even bothered by that. Like I said, you'll find anything in a time of comfort or in a time of grief to give you comfort. My concern about all this is all these articles that are talking about this miracle picture, this thing. You know what the girl who took the picture said?
Tell me.
My
lens is cracked, and that's what that is.
Almost exactly.
No shit.
According to People magazine, the photographer said it was, quote, clearly a glare off my window.
Ooh.
So she gets it.
Uh-huh. Do you have the picture pulled up? I want to see it.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm just, again, this goes back to the media coverage more than anything. It's the idea.
Okay, upon, like, when you first turned it around, I was like, oh shit, it does look like a light's coming up. But, like, I looked at it for half a second, and it is like, it looks like her, like, the sidebar behind her driver's side window that is hitting light and reflecting off the glass.
Yeah. I get why the family's like, this is a beautiful picture, and it'll get us through this rough time.
I'm sorry.
Why
I
is
don't
the
want
media,
a picture of the
Why is the media
accidents.
acting like this? Why couldn't God clearly wanted to send a ray of light to help this, but he couldn't steer the wheel in the right direction a couple seconds earlier?
Jesus, take the wheel.
And again, 3 of them died. Why is no one talking about how there's only the 2 quote unquote orbs going up? They're all like, that's beautiful. God's taken them to heaven. One of them didn't do it. One of them didn't make it. And by the way, the woman who died, one report I read said she was pregnant a few months in. And if you're the pro-life type of people who call that a human being already, then 4 people.
Orbs.
I'm mad about the media coverage. I don't care about the family finding grief in it. I'm not mocking any of that. But it's so annoying to see so many big publications talking about.
Turning in
They called it a pathway to heaven.
Oh, fuck
is
off.
what God sent.
It's turning a tragedy into like this feel-good story.
Yeah,
and I
it's
don't
not
think
a
that's
feel-good
appropriate.
story.
It's sad, and like let's not lose sight of 2 women and a little girl lost their lives. Let's not.
There's nothing feel good about it. It's a tragedy, and this light doesn't make it any less of a tragedy. As one commenter on my website pointed out, that's just a picture of God apologizing for being 5 minutes late again.
Classic God.
I hate it. There was another picture months ago where a motorcyclist got in a car accident.
Yeah, there have been a million of those floating around.
Totally. And the picture that a stranger took of that motorcycle accident showed it looked like a wisp of smoke rising right above the accident scene, which was clearly his soul going to heaven.
Or like literal smoke because a motorcycle exploded.
Yeah. Or, again, smudge in the window. Just putting that out there. Again, if the family said, this is the deal, this is what we saw, I get why that's a story. But if you're a reporter covering it, I think you have an obligation to say the family found comfort in this, but...
Or don't report on it.
I don't know if that's an option. Because I could see why it's a human interest story.
There are things that people are allowed not to report on. I don't think they need to seize every little dumb, quote unquote, viral thing because A, it's a flash in the pan. It's going to be gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
And B, like, what value are you bringing? What value are you bringing to your viewers?
It makes them feel good. That's what it is.
It shouldn't. People are fucking dead. Maybe feel sad.
Feel
sad about that because it's sad.
Story went viral for that reason. Because it made people feel good. And so everyone was reporting on it like, look, tragedy, but look, hope. I get why they reported it. I mean, it's chasing page views. I get that. I'm a blogger. Believe me, I get that. Yeah. But I think reporters have a responsibility to say, yes, the family found comfort in this, but by the way, here's what it actually is.
Or, yeah, I mean, but I think you hit the nail on the head with like the family found comfort in this instead of like, obviously.
don't like
it's God's flashlight.
Yeah, don't pretend like it's actually what happened. You could say they found comfort,
don't
but
rewrite
then
the story
don't pretend it's
in.
real.
That's really sad.
Yeah.
Was it a single car accident?
The 3 of them that died were driving a car. The driver lost control of her vehicle. They crashed into another car. That driver was okay.
Okay.
But it's a car accident.
That's awful. I'm so sorry
awful.
to hear that.
Let me go to something a little more lighthearted than that also involves death. Here's a story. I got sent these. I get sent this version, a variant on this story all the time.
Okay.
And it seems like every few months there's a new version of this. But the story is like this. A pastor in Africa wanted to prove to his congregation that Jesus could walk on water, so he tried to walk on water, and then he drowned. Or in this case, he got eaten by crocodiles. That's basically the story. It pops up every few months.
Okay.
Every time.
Are these true stories or are they just clickbaity Snopes.
Here's what I want to ask you.
Type shit.
So here's where I'm going with this. How would you know? What would you look for? And this is what I want to bring up. What would you look for in order to confirm or deny these reports? What are some things you could do?
Multiple sources?
Go on. Yes. I mean, yeah, who's reporting on it, right? Like
if I'm only seeing it come up on your, what's that one website? Christian Life, Lifeway, I don't know, it's something with
Life Zet.
No,
that's one of them. That's Laura
It's just one of
Ingram's.
those like very Christian focused, like feel good or like whatever.
Yeah, Charisma, Christian Post,
yeah,
Christianity Today. I mean,
with something like this, like if I'm only seeing it on your sort of atheist-y kind of things, obviously not the Friendly Atheist because Friendly Atheist only reports
top quality
standing news. But yeah, you have to look at the sources. So the same thing if you see an article that's like only reported on by Fox News, take it with a grain of salt. If you see it, it's only reported
if Todd
by
Starnes reported it, you can assume it's fake.
Right, or the equivalent on the left, which I
don't know what those sites are.
I don't either.
I don't think the left takes them seriously either for the most part.
So yeah, it's all about.
But yes, you're bringing up a good point, which is who's reporting this. It's not like the New York Times or people with fact checkers. In this case, the original source article came from random site with an African URL like suffix that I've never heard of. And so I'm like, well, I don't know this news source.
Right.
And everyone who's reporting on it, because other papers or other websites with some legitimacy are reporting on it, but they all say according to this site.
Right.
So that's number one.
Well, that's the thing with sourcing, which I learned when I was like writing marketing content, and it's sort of like kind of news-based thing. And I feel like this is a good sort of rule of thumb if you are looking at anything on the internet, is you want to make sure you find multiple sources reporting on the same thing. But beyond that, make sure it's not like, hypothetically say like, okay, according to, the New York Times reported on this story and a bunch of other news outlets, but they're all linking back to this New York Times or something, a better example of that. Like you need to like actually go beyond the headlines and the bylines and be like, is it all tracing back to this like garbage website that nobody's ever heard of?
And keep in mind with all the stuff we're seeing in the news about Donald Trump too, like for example, this week alone, we were like, oh, the Washington Post reported, whatever the hell they reported a couple of days ago. That was a big scoop.
Who fucking knows?
But what happens? Like NBC News or
when
something, they will say,
you spin it and they bring it on a talking head.
Hang on, they will say, the Washington Post is reporting this, but NBC News has not received independent confirmation because
I see what you
they
mean.
will do their own reporting. They'll
Yes.
call their own sources saying, is this legit? And if they get a yes, then cool, we have a second source. No one's doing that with this story.
No.
Okay, so that's number one. Another thing is that the websites that have some credibility and know how to report, none of them were touching this story.
Hey, you really?
I know.
What? I'm shocked. I'm shocked and appalled.
So that's the second thing.
Okay.
Another thing you could do. Hey, who is this pastor? What is this church? Because they mentioned that in the article.
Is it a real person or church?
Could not find anything
Is it a
about
real country? I feel like at this point, I'm really broadening the scope.
I'm pretty sure this happened in
Africa's
South Africa.
Real, so.
So yeah, legit country. But the pastor's name and the church's name, if you did searches for them, only resulted in this story. Like they don't exist outside of this story.
Well, and I think in this case, there's also a conversation worth having about the smell test in terms of, and if you're not familiar, it's just if you read a story and you're just like, I don't have any, like, there's nothing concrete that I'm saying, like, no, this is bullshit, but it just doesn't smell right. Like, there's just something icky about it. So for me, my first red flag was, like, it is a very, so anything that takes place in Africa, I assume it's racist people being racist. And the fact that, like, to me, like, the thing that switched in my head was, like... It's almost the
stereotype of, like, a Nigerian spammer. It's like, well, if I'm getting a letter, like,
not
I'm
even
already
that.
Be
my
dubious.
thought was, like, oh, the joke, like, the butt of this joke is, like, that the black guy drowned, which it's a American stereotype is that black people can't swim. So, to me, like, that was... And I don't even know if that's based on anything. It's just, like, a stereotype I've heard bandied about. So, to me, like, when something reinforces a stereotype... Or, like, eaten by a crocodile or something like that, which, like, okay, you're a person in middle America or even on the coast. It's like, what's a bad thing that can happen to somebody in Africa? Like,
If you were trying to make up a story,
I guess.
yeah. If you were
what
trying
else
to
is happening? Like famine or alligators? Hippos, I think, are meaner than we think they are.
So if you're trying to make up a story about
Right.
something, this is probably
You're
what you would
going
come
to
up
lean
with.
into every stereotype
Yeah.
you can think of. So
And so that was one of the
tell me
things on
this
my
is a
list
real
too.
fucking story. And also, sorry, one more point. The thing about trying to prove that Jesus could walk on water, I feel like that's not a thing that would be supported by most Christians, is that like Jesus could walk on water because he was Jesus. It's not like he walked on water because of his faith was so great, right? Like that's not a thing that people say. Like, oh, if you had enough faith in Jesus or God
that I
or
could
whatever,
walk on water. That's not what they say.
that's never
Correct.
been proposed, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think it has.
So Hemet, I'm gonna go on the limb and say this story wasn't real.
As far as I know, it's not real. But here's the last thing. You brought up one of them right now, which is the smell test. The other one is if this guy, the pastor, said, I'm going to walk on water, don't you think someone would be taking pictures or video?
Oh, 100%.
Like, if he had made it, don't you think there would have been video of this? And yet, of the drowning, there's no video. There's no pictures of this thing.
Well, it's like they say there's been fewer UFO and like Bigfoot and cryptozoological sightings since everybody has a camera in their goddamn pocket, and it's hard to be like, you won't believe what I saw. He was 12 feet tall, and he spoke perfect English with a British accent. I think
is how it
Bigfoot
works.
has British accent.
I assume. Sure.
It's canon
Why
now,
not?
guys.
Yeah, so none of that happened. There's
it
no reason to believe these stories. And here's the thing. In another 3 months, you'll hear another version of it.
I've
Stop.
never heard that particular trope before, though.
Yeah.
And you said you get it emailed to you?
Every few months, there's another variation of it going around the internet. The day after I heard about it, Snopes basically put out an article saying they can't say it's false because they don't.
It's unverified.
It's unverified. It's unconfirmed or whatever they said.
Yeah.
And my favorite version is the article in question actually quoted a witness who said the pastor drowned. That guy, if you Google his name, doesn't show up anywhere outside
Was
of this
his
either.
name Johnny St. Africa?
Deacon Nikosi. It was a legit sounding name.
Yeah, I can't
But
dog
no,
on that name.
Didn't happen. So stop believing that stuff. You
Yeah,
are
well,
skeptics. Be
and
better about this.
Yeah, and I think there's always it's always worth reminding, and I'm guilty of this as anybody. But when you see like a headline that reinforces your particular worldview, you're like, fuck yeah, and share that shit. And
I know. And that's why I think I was getting this, because so many atheists are like, look at this dumb pastor.
Right.
But it's like, why would you send me this? Like, you should have figured out that this is fake.
right. Because you're right. That's part
Be
of
a
being
good skeptic.
It is. Being a good skeptic sucks most of the time because every time you hear something awesome, you're like, well, that's pretty awesome, so it's probably not true because that's not
Right.
how our world works anymore. There's no magic anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I do think. I mean, skepticism it's a drag a lot of the time. But what do they
we're
say?
fun ruiners.
Yeah. What do people say on April 1st? It's like April 1st is the day everybody, people read Facebook the way skeptics read it the rest of the year.
Yeah. That's good.
Which I'm not going to lie. Like, I think I'm a pretty
I
bright
wish-
person. I have gotten taken in by April Fool's jokes more than I would care to admit on air.
I love that line. Unfortunately, skeptics fall for the same
all
type
the
of
time.
stuff all the time.
'Cause
Anyway,
we're dumb humans.
we are all dumb.
Like everybody.
We're not excluding ourselves
No,
from
my
that
God.
either.
I feel like if you listen back to this podcast, I think we call ourselves idiots at least once an episode.
At
Me,
least.
at least 20 times.
That's what the wine is for, to
Yeah.
drown our sorrows.
Indeed.
That's all I got.
That's all you have?
That's all I got. It's only been like 4 days since the last time
We've been talking. Yeah, this is like, I think our closest, because usually we record on Thursday nights.
Yeah.
This past week we recorded on a Friday night.
followed by today, Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah, it's been a quick turnaround.
See, now I feel like I have so much of my week left, because usually when we record, I'm like, I got 1 day left to go, and
Yeah.
I'm done. Oh, you don't have a
They'll-
job. You can't relate to my 9 to 5
I
grind.
worked very hard.
I'm not saying you don't work hard, but you can't relate to the 9 to 5 grind.
I totally cannot.
You don't have to wear a blazer to work. I'll never get over that.
I just wear a blazer.
That's so fucking gross. I'm so mad you put that in my head. You
You're
motherfucker.
welcome. You're welcome.
Okay.
We'll be around next week.
Yeah.
There'll be more stuff going on because it does.
Let's go over the things that we need to plug. So Patreon.
Hey, yeah, if you like what you listen to, patreon.com/Friendly Atheist Podcast.
Yeah.
This weekend we will air one more.
Even if you donate $1, we get the email every time, and it like makes my whole day. And
yeah, it's like a little endorphin rush.
Yeah, it's super great. You can tweet at us. I'm at Blueberry, BLUEBURIE.
I'm at Heaven Meta.
God damn it.
And
is it too late to? No, it's too late to change my handle.
Nah.
Oh, I think some listeners have been adding me on Facebook because I've gotten a rash of like people I don't know adding me. That's fine. Like, could you shoot me a message along with it? Because otherwise I assume you're like either a bot or going to murder me, which is fine. Like, if you guys want, I mean, it's boring. It's all about my dog and like.
I don't post anything.
No, you don't post shit.
I don't.
And you probably have more followers than me, you motherfucker.
I don't know what they're following.
I try to be pithy.
Yeah.
What else? Oh, my Etsy shop is Bitches Get Stitched Done. Somebody bought a couple of my cross stitches they're going to sell in a shop in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Cool.
So, little business gal on this end.
Buy it in Ann Arbor. I don't know where.
If you live in Ann Arbor.
She
definitely told me the name of the shop, and I don't remember, but she said it was like across the street from where people tend to protest a lot, so she bought a bunch of like my feminist ones.
Nice.
Which made me super happy. We have a tour coming up. JK, no we don't. We'll never tour. We're too poor.
We're working on it.
No, we're
Eventually.
not. What the fuck are you talking about? We're not working on shit. Let's do a live Chicago show. What would we do? Never mind. I'm regretting that.
Where would we do it? Let's just do it in your
I
house.
was just about to say that. Do you guys want to come to my apartment? I've got like a pretty big couch. I don't know, like
wine for everybody.
No, bring your BYO. BYO. You're not drinking my fucking wine. I don't know if we would. What would we do? What would you do? What's like your vision of a Friendly Atheist podcast live show? You don't have one. You don't want to do it. Oh.
We could solicit it. We could have like callers in. We'll share a mic. We'll put the mic over somewhere and be like, "Who's next?"
In terms of like giving people advice,
or we could do a story and people could walk up to the mic and add their 2 cents, like radio callers.
Oh my God, it's like every atheist's dream.
How does Seth Andrews do it?
I don't know. He's so good at that.
I know.
No. I feel like it would just be us. It would be me yelling and you sort of like sitting quietly and smirking like you are right now.
That sounds about right.
You can see it in person. We're not going to tour probably. Okay, well, thank you guys so much for listening. This has been fun. People seem to be responding to these weird, dumb episodes that we've been doing lately.
And we like ranting about this stuff because we have nowhere else to talk about it.
Yeah, it's really cathartic. I work at a like really conservative office now, so I can't even like yell in my office, which is
and I have no one to talk to all day, so this is really good.
You've got your baby to talk to.
She's not a good listener.
What a bitch.
Just regurgitates stuff, and she's like... That's all right. She deserves it sometimes.
She has cried at me every time I've met her.
She just cries.
Except for that one time when she puked on me.
Nice. You deserved it.
That's fair.
For some reason, she says she wants Jesus to come back.
Oh, that's so adorable.
I know.
Let's call back. We're good podcasters. All right. So what we're putting out an interview.
We'll put out an interview with Maggie Rowe, who's the author of that book.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be out this weekend. Check it out. We'll have more too. We have more stuff coming up. Couple more interviews in the pipeline that we're going to share with you soon. We'll tell you about them later.
Oh.
Yeah. Because I don't know when those are coming out just yet.
No, I have a dumb thing I did with my brother that will come out eventually. It might have to be like a bonus episode or something because it's dumb. We're dumb. Everything about me is dumb.
On that note.
Yeah. Thank you for... rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes, please.
Please do.
Email us at friendlyatheistpodcast@gmail.com. We love to hear your emails, especially when they're accusing me of hating men, which is like not far off.
I just ingest those emails every couple days.
Cool. Thank you guys for listening.
Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Bye.